Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well, and that you're all having a fantastic day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. In what can only now be described as the never-ending story within the cryptocurrency space, I've been talking about this for the last 10 days or so, regardless of the fact that we now have multiple spot Bitcoin ETFs, something that the market has been waiting for over 10 years. A number of people are now talking about the next new big shiny thing, and no, I'm not talking about the spot Ethereum ETFs. It's something that we already have that people now want more of. Bloomberg senior ETF analyst, his name is Eric Balchunas, has predicted that Charles Schwab, an $8.5 trillion financial asset manager, may soon also be offering a low-fee spot Bitcoin fund. Yes, you heard that correctly. Since the SEC approved the launch of multiple Bitcoin spot ETFs, top asset managers have stiffly competed for the top spot. That's a weird word to have there. Interestingly, or uninterestingly, it just seems logical, BlackRock is currently in the top position because they're BlackRock, with its Bitcoin fund approaching nearly $2 billion in assets under management. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been getting numbers about this. For those of you who did not see my video yesterday, shame on you. It's literally about exactly what we're kind of talking about as far as these large companies and institutions are buying up more Bitcoin than people are actually realizing. And this is where we're going to see in the future the most movement in prices, basically because of what they're doing. And it's basically now, I mean, this could have also been predicted a while ago. We knew that in the past, if people applied for a spot Bitcoin ETF and received approval, every other company who wanted one after would basically just kind of have to copy and paste or copy from their neighbor and do exactly what they're doing to be able to be approved for one of these as well. There have been BlackRock isn't the only large company. It's just not Fidelity and BlackRock on the planet. There are dozens of other trillion-dollar asset management companies. And the fact that they all did not apply to have a Bitcoin ETF at the same time, for some reason, sent the market into a tizzy, and everyone began to lose their mind, to get really upset. Remember Vanguard? For those of you who weren't here, Vanguard said that they don't plan on offering any type of a spot Bitcoin anything because it goes against their idea of a slow and steady wins the race kind of thing for their clients. They want small returns over the course of a long period of time that will be relatively stable. And the idea of them not getting into Bitcoin is just something that they don't want to do it. And people were like, "You're wrong." And it's like, we're fine. The market's fine. The halving's coming. The accumulation is still there. The market will be just okay. We don't need these mega institutions. So now there's speculation that Charles Schwab is also going to try and do the exact same thing as far as getting into the market as well. The spot Bitcoin ETF market competition could soon be heating up, as Eric Balchunas recently predicted that the top asset manager, Charles Schwab, might be rolling out their own BTC fund. Speaking with RIABiz, RIABIZ, over the weekend, Balchunas said that the $8.5 trillion asset manager may roll out a Bitcoin fund to help it claim the second position in the Bitcoin spot ETF market. The ETF analyst has speculated that Charles Schwab could achieve this feat by offering their own Bitcoin fund, combining a scale and lower fee pricing strategy. He also said he would not be surprised if they only had a fee of 0.1% in just a few months. He said they could have something up their sleeve. They might like to do something like that, he added. Sure. So at this point, it is relative speculation. I don't know what it is. Since the ETF moment, a lot of these people are now repopping back up in the cryptocurrency space. We haven't had the name Eric Balchunas. Is it Eric? Something about Eric Balchunas. In a number of months, if not a year. Same exact thing with the other day with Tor Demister and Samson Mao. These people are popping up once again as the voices of price reason within the market and where things should be going and what they think is going to happen. But it's just fascinating that these people are reappearing in the news as we get closer to the halving and the expectation of prices moving a lot higher. I mean, sure, if Charles Schwab decides to enter the ETF market, fantastic. Prices will probably move up even higher in the future as accumulation continues to kick up. There has, up until now, been no application by them. What I think he is referring to is a literal fund similar to Grayscale. There was a trust, but it was also, in essence, a trust fund. I'm trying to separate the words, but they do kind of belong together. It is something where you buy on behalf of your clients, what have you. So cool. They might do this. I assume in the future, maybe by the end of this year, we will have probably a number of other ETFs. Also, a number of other funds who are also actively collecting Bitcoin. If Charles Schwab and Vanguard never enter our market, we will still, at some point, hit $1 million Bitcoin. It's not reliant on these mega companies to move us around. I mean, we also have BlackRock, so I expect crazy things. Anyway, there's potentially going to be another BTC fund from Charles Schwab sometime in the next couple of months. They have not filed anything with the SEC, but they might be making their own trust news. And yeah, let's move on. So I don't know why this was so popular. I honestly can't. Anyway, the point is, over the last 2 years, we've gotten a lot of news that governments are, they may say that they're not into crypto, that they don't like Bitcoin, but accumulation says otherwise. On the other hand, because crypto has become so popular, a lot of them have decided to make their own stable coins and or make their own central bank digital currencies. There are 6 or 7 different countries right now who do have active central bank digital currencies, but they're not really being used. The public doesn't want them, and also having to convert into them just to simply use another form of a digital payment is nonsensical. There's a lot of fear-mongering going on around central bank digital currencies around the world. They are not any more invasive or privacy destructiveness, not a word, than what you already have going on in the world. The fact that people think that CBDCs are going to ruin any type of privacy that you already don't have is completely nonsensical. In the same breath, it looks like the Bank of England is getting ready to begin to start doing something in that general direction. And this, for some reason, makes really big headline news. I attribute it to partially, I think a lot of people who are writing articles now for the cryptocurrency space don't understand, not joking, they don't understand the difference between centralization, decentralization, or what a CBDC versus blockchain versus a cryptocurrency, the difference between them. Cryptocurrencies, for those of you who are wondering, are decentralized. They are not created or ruled over by any governing entity. They're allowed for everyone around the world to use them at any given point in time, and no one controls the network as a central bank digital currency. would be the opposite. The Bank of England has recently published a consultation paper on the development of a digital pound. It says colloquially termed Britcoin. No one is calling it that. Don't try to start it. It sounds ridiculous. No one is calling this Britcoin, like at all. This comprehensive document outlines the proposed design, potential benefits of which there are none, and challenges of introducing a digital pound in the United Kingdom. Part of the problem with governments right now is that they're figuring out that no one actually wants them. So they're looking for a different use case for central bank digital currencies within the country. And one of the main ones that a number of countries have come to the conclusion of is just having it run within the banking system. So we would deal in air quotes, normal currency on our day-to-day, whether you decide to use cash or whether you decide to tap your card. Any finalization of accounts or contracts would then be done in the central bank digital currency in the background by the actual bank. But that's really as far as they've gotten. As far as even there's a gigantic country right below Russia who has tried to even airdrop, literal airdrops of the CBDC onto citizens, and they're not using it. No one needs extra digitization of something that is already digitized. It's just nonsense. The paper apparently marks a critical step in the lengthy process of determining whether to officially introduce a digital version of the pound sterling, with a decision expected around the middle of the decade. So next year? Okay. The paper reveals a range of opinions from various stakeholders regarding the introduction of a digital pound. Many respondents stressed its potential to enhance financial inclusion. That's a lie. That is a complete lie. And they will write these things to try and make you believe that these things are going to make the world a better place. Financial inclusion, we live in the year of 2024. You want financial inclusion? You make an app for it. The government right now can hire 5 geniuses to create an app for them that will make sure that everyone in their country is financially included within the system. Everyone, regardless of who you are. It's very simple. You can build a bank in underprivileged areas to make sure that people can get loans to actually buy homes, to get on the property ladder, to create generational wealth. That's financial inclusion. You think you have to create a brand new currency, tell everyone to essentially swap their money in their bank account into this brand new thing and use it in stores to spend the money that you worked for to be financially included? You know what also brings financial inclusion? Taxing people who don't pay taxes, who made $7 billion. That'll do a lot for the system. That does a whole bunch for financial inclusion while still having those people be billionaires. Isn't that crazy? Especially if accompanied by improvements in digital literacy and accessibility. What they're doing, in essence, is trying to make sure that they get taxes. This is what we've heard many times before. They keep not just the UK. Countries in general continue to try to pretend that this has something to do with like allowing people access to money or allowing people access to a financial system or making things better for the underprivileged or trying to make... No, governments believe in their broken heart of hearts that people are scamming them, that everyday citizens who are being taxed 40 to 50% on their earnings, that they are scamming the government in some sort of way that they don't know how, and they want complete control over any instance of money moving around. This is why we see governments, especially Nordic countries, also within India, also within a lot of parts of Asia, who have kind of, for those of you who don't know, they kind of skipped over the phase of using checks that many other countries had. I think it's mainly the US who still uses checks, which is kind of very 1980s of them. But the idea is that by people still being allowed to use paper money, there's a case then for fraud. And we hear this a lot as well. It can be used for money laundering. It can be used for this. And therefore, they believe that if everything is digital, then the government will always get their due. They'll always know exactly how much they're getting in money. You can find articles about it as well. India's kind of been one of the most vocal over the last few years. I think they believe that they're being, excuse my French, that they're being shafted out of billions of dollars that could be paid in taxes. But if you look into the actual system, the people who are using cash make around like $6 per day. So it's like, maybe you can just leave those people alone and allow them to be inside of the economy without having to worry about them paying 40% in taxes when they're making $6 a day. This was very popular news. And I mean, we've seen it before as well when any other country has shown interest in making a central bank digital currency, has announced the creation of a digital version of their current currency that they have. And once again, I usually chalk it up to the fact that I believe that the people who are writing these articles, or a lot of people who are in the market, don't really understand how things do or how things should work. And this is why I think whenever, in all honesty, when there is a corporation coin that ends up popping up like Solana, that people rush towards it because the marketing is there. It sells very well, especially if you are centralized and are able to take out ads and stuff like that. But then on the other hand, you have people who mishmash and confuse quite heavily the idea of blockchain being used for a central bank digital currency, which is going to be centralized, conflating it with the idea of, well, it's still blockchain. This is great for Bitcoin. Education helps a lot. I believe this is it right here. Then this is another article. As I said, it was quite popular. You can find, for those of you who were wondering, you can find the actual information directly on the Bank of England's website, where they try and talk about how essential money is and how we need it in our lives and how the only way forward is by digitizing it. Cool. That's another country has shown interest in digitizing their money even further to try and get more control over people's lives than they already completely have. If you've never looked at a documentary on how invasive the state is within the UK, do it. Look up how many microphones are in lamp posts around London and cameras. You will be shooketh, I promise you. And this is since like 2012. Like, it's been a very long time. This isn't something that's been brand new. Anyway, that's the digital pound news. And yeah, let's move on. Also okay, no one asked for this, but you go again. Almost said Gen Coco. It says, with the acceptance of Bitcoin ETFs in the US, I always imagine someone listening to these videos and being like, what the fudge is going on? Like, am I missing something? Like, what is this guy talking about? I mean, you've been here this long. It says, with the acceptance of Bitcoin ETFs in the United States, it says the exploration of innovative product offering continues. Who wrote that? A company called Yield Max, literally yield and max, has applied to the US SEC for an ETF called YBIT, the letter Y and then BIT. This ETF includes a Bitcoin option income strategy and is planned to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange around the 10th of April. What great timing, the same exact time as the halving. These people are so transparent, it's absolutely ridiculous. In the application submitted to the US SEC by YieldMax, it stated that the fund aims to indirectly expose itself to several exchange-traded products traded on a specific US exchange aiming to generate income. The ETF operates within the framework of a synthetic option called the fund. Wow, that's ominous. This strategy is strategically designed to not only generate income, but also provide indirect exposure to the stock price returns of one of more of the underlying ETPs associated with BTC. Jeez Louise, man. So it's literally a derivative of a derivative of a commodity. they're going to be following and buying things that are exposed to Bitcoin, and they themselves will create another product that then gives, they say, a yield based off of the money that's generated from the other products that they've accumulated, who are also based off of the value of Bitcoin based from other companies who are also accumulating the Bitcoin themselves. That's the convoluted news. Never heard of Yield Max. There are a bunch of other companies right now who are trying to get an ETF launched for something Bitcoin-esque. Bitcoin futures right now are in the garbage. People have been cashing out of their futures for the last month or so and have been throwing that money into actual spot Bitcoin ETFs. So I'm not sure how well this is actually going to do. That's not me making a joke. It's literally if the largest companies also have futures, Bitcoin futures, and no one wants them and people are barely trading them and or are selling them off to buy the actual spot ETFs, you need to actually be able to produce and consistently have an over 7 to 9 to 10% return dividend-wise, yield-wise, for anyone to even think about using your product, especially in the event of you have indirect exposure to Bitcoin. And should we see a situation where Bitcoin does a 5x, Bitcoin goes to 300, 400,000, and by the end of 2025, your fund has not produced the same returns, well, guess who's not going to be using your fund anymore? Everyone else on the planet. That's the Yield Max is trying to launch a, what was it called? A YBIT, the letter Y, BIT, options ETF. They're probably going to get it because the SEC has no problem with Bitcoin ETFs or funds or futures that don't deal directly in the Bitcoin. So this is probably going to happen for them, but it's just a matter of if anyone's going to be using it. That's the ETF news, or the other ETF news, because it's everywhere. And yeah, let's move on. Also, what the fudge? There we go. Also in the news is large investors in the cryptocurrency market, often known as whales, have been busy accumulating Bitcoin, amassing a total of $3 billion worth of the crypto. You know exactly where this is going. Don't worry, I won't rant. I won't rant on this one. But just throwing it out there, this news is constant. We get this news nearly every other daily, about how much Bitcoin is being accumulated. And now we're getting actual whale news. What we tend to get and have gotten the last 3 weeks has mainly focused around the accumulation from the ETF holders and makers, and as far as how much they've been buying. According to data from on-chain analytics firm Into the Block, the amount of Bitcoin held in whale wallets, that is to say wallets that have been holding a lot of Bitcoin, increased by 76,000 Bitcoin, bringing the total holdings of these whales to nearly 7.8 million Bitcoin. And I think the metric is, if I am not mistaken, the whale metric applies to addresses, I think, who are holding over, I think it's 100 Bitcoin. I think that's the number that we're constantly given. So if there is an address or someone who has an address that is 99.9 Bitcoin, and they have 500 of them, those do not count as whale addresses, and they would not make this metric. This also doesn't apply to people who have 50 Bitcoin, who have 25 Bitcoin, who have 5, you get the idea. So, yeah, whales are buying a lot. 76,000 is not a little, especially over the course of a month. We got news, for those of you who missed it, that apparently, I think just the companies who are holding ETFs alone accumulated 90,000. No, sorry, excuse me, forgive me. That first number was correct, but the other one's wrong. They apparently accumulated 9,000 Bitcoin in one day, and now collectively hold over more than 90,000, and the number is like 105,000 Bitcoin just from those companies in 2.5 weeks. So on the other side of it, you have the normal whales who are also buying as they see the accumulation taking place. So just the whale news, just, nothing to pay attention to, nothing to really look at. It's not that important. Just all the Bitcoin that's ever going to be on the planet is being accumulated by these people. And if Bitcoin goes to 1 million, they'll maybe be selling fractions of it. And, that's the news. That's the whale news. Yeah. Let's move on. Also okay, sure, why not? Cathie Wood is once again in the news. Cathie Wood has been in the news the last couple of weeks. I think even since the 13th or 14th, I want to say, of January. I believe that's what it was. Where we got wind of the fact that Cathie Wood's company, ARK Invest, had been purchasing shares of their own spot Bitcoin ETF, which was a little weird to me. Apparently, we were told that it's normal, same as a stock buyback, and I was like, well, why aren't other people buying their fund as opposed to just them? According to ARK Invest daily data, Cathie Wood's ARK Invest engaged in strategic transactions on the 25th of January, purchasing 94,918 shares of their own ARK21 shares Bitcoin spot ETF, equivalent to approximately $3.78 million. Simultaneously, Wood's firm also sold off 198,873 shares of the ProShares Bitcoin Futures ETF. Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna make your day, but if you have time, if you look into the actual usage or selling off of Bitcoin ETFs, futures, it is incredible how many people don't want them anymore. And it kind of goes to show that the only people who were really using them before were trying to get institutional access to Bitcoin. But now that they have the actual spot ETFs, nobody wants the futures anymore. So they sold 198,000 shares and also bought the same equivalent amount of their own fund, which is, I guess, a very ARK Invest thing to do. We're probably going to be hearing about them over the course of the next couple of weeks again, because that's mainly where the news has been teetering as far as ETF-wise. The news mainly now is like how high prices are going, where people expect them to go. A whole bunch of crypto celebrities? Question mark, talking about the market. ETF, who has an ETF, how much they're accumulating, Cathie Wood buying her own ETF, and also other companies potentially creating ETFs and or not wanting to use ETFs. I think you're sensing a theme when it comes to the news over the course of the last couple of weeks. Like, I get it. I understand all the enthusiasm. Oh, I forgot the Ethereum ETF news and the people talking about that behind the scenes. They're secretly being an XRP ETF being made as well. So that's the world that we currently live in. So sure, the thing that makes the most, that I'm looking forward to the most right now is basically the halving. That is historically where things kind of rev up and get going. The fact that we have this level of accumulation around the world and prices still aren't as high as I think they should be is, I'll use the word fascinating. I'll throw the word fascinating in there. Yeah, that's the Cathie Wood's ARK Invest. I hate that so much. Every single article, it's always Cathie Wood's ARK Invest. It's never like Cathie Wood's, who is the CEO of ARK Invest, is always Cathie Wood's. I don't know why that bothers me. Yeah, even here, Cathie Wood's ARK Invest. It's so weird, so weird that people write it that way. I do hope that you have all enjoyed. I do sincerely hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.